We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. Now, this is a live show. We do taking all your questions. So if you have any question you'd like to ask us, please send the question via the WhatsApp, the email address ahkamsos@imamhussein.tv, or alternatively give us a call 0203 515 0199, and inshallah myself and the Sheikh will be able to discuss and also answer all of your questions. I'm your host tonight, Mohsin Shah, and joining me is Sheikh Ali Ma'ash. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
How are you doing this evening?
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Sheikhna, let's kick off with the first question, and that is in regards to wudu. Now, you know, at a time of disparity, at a time of poverty, sometimes, you know, water is required for wudu and ghusl and so forth, but water is very scarce. Sometimes there's a threat, or, you know, people have a fear of thirst. Sometimes the thirst is unbearable. Sometimes it's a case of, you know, in the summertime, it's very, very hot. Sometimes there's water shortages and so forth. So people are scared of, you know, using water. If I have some water with me, but I'm in one of those situations, it's a really hot summer's day, there's a shortage of water, not sure when we're going to get a top-up of water, should I use this water for ghusl and wudu, or should I not?
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. In such cases where you have a few drops of water, let's say, for drinking only, and if you don't keep this water, there's a life-threatening situation, harm, and so forth, then it becomes mandatory and wajib on this individual to perform tayammum instead of wudu and ghusl, and to keep this water, the remaining water, for drinking, just to keep one's health and life on the right side, so avoid damaging one's health and so forth, so that one should remain alive. So in this case, you have to do tayammum instead. So yes, in such situations, you have to keep the water and do tayammum instead.
Sheikhna, from that answer you've given me, for example, you know, with our sisters, they go through, you know, a menstruation cycle and so forth, and they can't perform their deeds and so forth. Also, with the lack of water, can one perform any types of worship or any types of ibadat or anything which doesn't require wudu or ghusl or tayammum or something?
With regard to the prayers for the deceased or salatul mayyit, the one does not need purity. So even the lady in this situation can join the lines of the deceased prayer and pray with them, because originally salatul mayyit is dua. They actually recite dua for the mayyit, so there's no purity required, non-wudu and ghusl and so forth. So in this situation, the one can join them and pray for the mayyit, for this deceased individual. So it's a dua.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like proper salah that we pray, the obligatory and mustahab salah,
where we worship Allah
with wudu, with all the conditions of purity.
I see. Excellent. Sheikh, now a question from one of our viewers. What is the Sharia end of Maghrib and Isha Salah time? So according to the Sharia, when does Maghrib and Isha Salah, the subscribed time, finish, or when it becomes qadha?
The end of the Maghrib and Isha time is almost 11 hours and a quarter from the noon time, the Shari noon time, the Adhan al-Dhuhr time. So you have to calculate. So let's say if the Adhan al-Dhuhr is 12:15, then the end time for the Maghrib and Isha is around 11:45, roughly. less or more على كل حال 11:30 45. In this case, the one should pray before this time.
11 hours 45 minutes.
11 hours 15 minutes.
Oh, 11 hours 15 minutes.
From
Okay.
you calculate from the noon time, the
Yes.
Shar'i noon time,
So,
Dhuhr time.
from Dhuhr, Adhan.
Yeah. So add 11
Okay.
hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
So, in this case, that is the expiry of the time of the Maghrib and Isha time.
Excellent. I see.
Of course, there are conditions for those who are compelled, such as the woman in the state of her monthly cycle. They have the option to be extended till Fajr time and so forth. But in overall, that's the maximum time for the Maghrib and Isha time.
Shaykhna, when performing Salah, one of the rukn, one of the prerequisites, I should say, of Salah is to face the Qibla. According to the Sharia, what is the proper way to face the Qibla?
Well, you must face the Qibla with your face, the chest, the abdomen, the legs towards the Qibla. You have to face, the whole body should faces the Qibla. And as a mustahab precaution, even your toes of the feet to be straight towards the Qibla. So, because sometimes we pray like this, so the feet are in a different direction. So, but mustahab to pray it also, position it towards the Qibla as well.
I see, excellent. Shaykhna, a question from one of our viewers. When there is no heir for a deceased Muslim person in the foreign land, who should take charge of his burial? According to His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sistani.
If it's not possible to get the consent from the heirs, from the inheritors of this deceased individual to take care of the burial, then it becomes what is known as the wajib kifaya upon the Muslims, that one or two of the Muslims to come forward and take care of the burial of this deceased, to handle all the requirements for the dafn and such like. So yes, it's going to be upon the Muslims to take care of this burial.
Speaking of the deceased, Shaykhna, what is one to do with a property that belongs to someone who is deceased, but that person owed other people money? Furthermore, are you actually allowed to even pray Salah in such a property?
Initially, when he dies, this individual, all his wealth will be no longer of his possessions. So it's to the heirs and to those who the one needs to pay back to the creditors and so forth. So it's haram to basically deal with such property. You have to pay back the loans and so forth to other people. And also it's haram to pray in that place unless this matter is resolved and all the money is paid back to those that he borrowed, this deceased borrowed from them. And then you have the inheritors as well, their haq and right, which comes in front.
Shaykhna, working in grocery stores and even supermarkets here in the West, unfortunately not all the items are 100% halal. Now, if one is to work at a cashier, and let's say there are products that contain pork, can this person have the intention of taking money from the consumer in a way to dispose of the pork meat and so forth? Is this transaction considered halal? His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Saeed Hakim, has a fatwa on this. How does he discuss this? What does he say?
Basically, the Sayyid mentions that it is not permissible to take part in such transaction or be as a cashier, for example, and sell the product. Our ulama mainly say that you're not allowed to sell pork and alcohol to even those who consider it permissible in their own faith or religion. You cannot sell the pork and alcohol. Two exceptions that you can't sell to anybody on this earth. It's forbidden. So one should make sure that when he opens a supermarket or a grocery shop, to avoid selling these two main forbidden items.
I see. Excellent. Shaykhna, it's a live show. We do get questions in, and we have a question from one of our viewers. Some women wear false eyelashes on their eyes. What is the ruling when it comes to wudu and ghusl? From His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sheikh Khorasani.
Basically, the Shaykh mentions that it's forbidden to wear something that prevents the reach of the water on the skin or on the body of the wudu, the place of the wudu. And the ghusl as well, same thing. Same rule applies. So you have to remove all the obstacles, makeup, thick, let's say gel and so forth, which prevents the reach of the water on the body when doing the wudu or the ghusl. Otherwise, the wudu and the salah would be batil. So you can't really continue with this. You have to remove that particle and do the wudu and allow the water to reach the skin. In other hand, you have basically the issue of a woman wearing false eyelashes. Is that considered to be as beautification, zina? Then it's forbidden, haram. She needs to cover it from the eyes of the non-mahram. So that's another issue that we have to consider as well.
Yeah, indeed. Shaykhna, next question in regards to fasting. Now, as you and I are aware, we've discussed this before, that sometimes you can't make a fast, or because you're traveling, you break a fast. You do a qadha fast, and you have to repay the qadha before the next Ramadan is to come. A lot of people take advantage of this by fasting during the winter seasons, where the days are a lot shorter and so forth. Now, I'm doing a qadha fast, a wajib fast, in winter time, and I deliberately break my fast. What is my taklif now that I have deliberately broken a qadha fast?
If one breaks his qadha fast just after the adhan of the dhuhr in the afternoon, then this individual needs to pay kafara as wajib by paying 10 paupers or faqir or miskin to feed basically 10 faqir in this situation.
Okay.
Each with approximately 750 grams of wheat, barley, rice and so forth, flour and so forth. If he can't pay this amount of money and feed 10 people, then he or she needs to fast for 3 days. So that's instead of not being able to pay that amount.
Excellent. Shaykh, now we're going to go to a short break. Join us after the break as we continue our discussion here on Ahkam SOS. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. Quick reminder to all our viewers that this is a live show. We do take in all your questions. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask, send it in via the WhatsApp, the email address, or alternatively give us a call here in the studio, 0203 515 0199, and inshallah me and the Shaykh will be able to discuss and answer your question. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykhna.
Assalamu alaikum.
Shaykhna, when we have money to give for a kafara or for a nadhr, or maybe we're giving it as a prize for in a charity event or so forth, is khums applicable to these funds, you could say, or this money?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The kafara and the nadhr money and so forth, these are known to be as the expenses of the year. So these are somehow the ma'una of the sana of that year. So they're going to be spent for the paupers, the faqir, the miskin and so forth. And there's no need to be paid khums on these payments. But the one must make sure that to be the ones reasonable for the status of that one, and somehow that this amount of money is reasonable for him in his status, not to be more than his status, basically. Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of khums, Shaykh, now, half of it goes towards the Sayyids. Now, my next question is that when it comes to the half that belongs to the Sayyids, are you allowed to distribute it yourself without the permission of the marja?
As a precaution, one must seek permission from the marja, taqleed, before spending any amount of the khumus. So it's important that we go back to the marja, and you can ask for the ijazah, the permission that I have, let's say, poor sayyids in my country, I want to pay them. Or I have, for example, an orphanage, or I want to build a hospital, for example, for the orphans. They would usually, if there is a possibility to give the permission, they would give. There's no issue with it. Yeah. But you have to go back to the marja that you follow and ask for the permission and the ijazah.
I see. Shaykhna, according to His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani, what is his ruling on that? Praying at home, are we required to recite adhan and aqama for each individual prayer?
The Sayyid mentions that it is sufficient to recite the adhan for both of the salah if they are prayed combined. So you pray each salah after the one on another. So you finish the salat al-dhuhr and then you pray salat al-asr straight away afterwards. So one adhan would be fine. So there's no problem with that.
Okay, excellent. Shaykhna, in regards to zakat, when you give zakat to the poor and the destitute and so forth, what is the criteria for qualifying for the zakah?
The zakat is paid to the one who does not possess the annual expenses of the year. He hasn't got a proper income during the year. And however, if the one has some kind of skill he can work, let's say he can, for example, build houses. He can do plumbing, for example. He's got some kind of skills. Then of course he's not classified as being a poor person and you can't pay him. But somebody who has no talent, no skills in this regard, and he's poor, then of course you can pay it to him with this criteria.
Inshallah, fantastic. Shaykhna, a question from one of our viewers. What is the best means for one to chastise and discipline one's soul if one sins in order not to do so a second time?
Basically, the one should engage with Allah Azza wa Jal, make a good bond and connection with Allah Azza wa Jal. Always remember Allah Azza wa Jal in your deeds, in your a'mal, in your saying. Make sure that whatever you do, you think about it and ponder before you say it, you do it. Is it haram or is it halal, permissible? And is it beneficial or is it just waste of time? Also, upholding the practice of remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jal, remembering death. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to remember death every single day and many times, because remembering death would make the one's self humble and to think and reflect on his or her future in the grave. So that's one of the ways. Also to repent to Allah Azza wa Jal by saying Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh every morning and evening 100 times. Say istighfar every day, and especially in such holy month, the holy month of Rajab, the one should say istighfar. There are different versions of istighfar in the Mafatih Jinan and the books of the Ad'iyah. Astaghfirullah dhul jalal wal ikram, astaghfirullah wa asratu tawbah, astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. Different types of istighfar mentioned, in which the one prepares himself for the holy month of Ramadan to be pure and tahir when he or she reaches that holy month and starts to fast. So everyday istighfar, tawbah, and especially in this holy month. And of course seeking forgiveness from Allah Azza wa Jal at the end of the day.
Excellent. Shaykhna, final question coming in again from one of our viewers, and that is, what is the benefits of restraint and containment of one's rage?
Well, the one should always be calm, and tranquility is the best solution for that. And again, to remember Allah Azza wa Jal. When you remember Allah Azza wa Jal in such a situation, you would avoid being in that evil state, the satanic state basically, because shaitan would interfere in such state, in a state of anger. Let's see what Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam states with this regard. He says, Ata Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi rajul badawi. A Bedouin man came to the Prophet of Islam. فقال إني أسكن البادية فعلمني جوامع الكلام. He told the Holy Prophet that I live in the desert. I'm a Bedouin. I don't live in the cities. So teach me a complete sentence, a complete subject of Islam. He wanted just a complete and a short sentence that he can learn when he goes back. فقال صلى الله عليه وآله, he said to him, آمرك أن لا تغضب. I order you to not to be angry. And he repeated this 3 times. لا تغضب, لا تغضب, لا تغضب, 3 times. The man said that فقال لا أسأل عن شيء بعد هذا. I would not ask anything after this. So avoiding anger would be the best solution and a big lesson in my life. ما أمرنا رسول الله إلا بالخير. The Prophet ordered me to be in goodness, in all aspects of goodness. So as a result, the anger is the key to all vices. It's the key to destroying one life, the others, and the one narration that the anger would initially burn yourself, it would destroy your well-being and situation, rather than just the opposite individual who you are actually being angry with. So best thing is to remember Allah Azza wa Jal and to change your state. If you're sitting, then stand up or go and do the wudu and so forth, to refrain from the state of anger.
I see. Inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the tawfiq, inshallah, to control our anger. Thank you very much, Shaykhna. I know you go through a lot of research and you're back and forth with emails between all the offices of the Maraji and so forth. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Ahkam SOS. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask, please send them in via the WhatsApp, the email address, or call us next time here on Imam Hussein TV 3. If you've sent in a question, we do apologize, we run out of time, but definitely we'll be able to answer that questions that you've sent in, all the questions you've sent in, on Wednesday's episode, 6:30 here on Imam Hussein TV 3. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Gather queries of your chest with Ahkam SOS.